Hello. Good morning, YouTube. I am Phil. I am the Down Under Maker. We're currently waiting for a raid-in from Steve Build, so we're not going to dive immediately into the content, but I hope you are really excited along with me for the unveiling of the EBB Gen2 boards. This is one of the devices that a lot of people have been looking forward to. So I'm going to be padding out for a couple of minutes and talking to you guys and saying hi to all those who are new. Some of you will notice that I've managed to get some stream bots running. So every now and again, the text will come up on my chat to say, support me, join my Discord and all that sort of stuff. That's all brand new. And I have a terrible, terrible habit of leaving myself muted when I start a stream. So I've that, and I have a terrible habit of forgetting to change the camera views. So what I'm going to be doing is over the next few days setting it all up so that my moderators can do a command and swap to a more appropriate view or unmute me, because yeah, there's been 3 or 4 streams where I've done the whole introduction just like this and then it's been completely silent and I've had to do it all again. So that's all coming up. Now, my channel is a little bit more home-baked than some of the other channels that you are likely watching. Steve, he's got access to lots and lots of American suppliers, which I just simply don't have access to. What I do have access to, though, being in Australia, is AliExpress. It can deliver to me in 4 to 5 days. So pretty much I finish a stream here realizing I need something, put my order in, and it's all through to me by the next stream the next week. So that has made life a little simpler. But being a non-sponsored stream, it means that I don't do giveaways at this point, and it means that everything is coming out of my pocket. There is no sponsorship. One of the things that I want to make very clear is this is not a sponsored stream. Bigtreetech is not paying me in any way, shape or form for this. This is simply the fact that they're about to launch these devices. I have been beta testing the devices for them for a long time. Well, this is a great way to start with the stream. And here comes Steve's raid. Hopefully everything is working. It's back. Awesome. Looks like we're back in business. Thanks, Petty and Void. Okay, so we had a minor technical issue. I am Phil. I am the Down Under Maker. I'm in Perth, Australia, which is about 12 hours out from East Coast US most of the time. And I build stuff in my lounge room. This is my lounge room. Well, it used to be the lounge room and now it's my workshop. I was just explaining to everybody that I've been doing lots of things for Bigtreetech in terms of beta testing. And then we realized that there was something buggy with my YouTube ingest, and we've just had to quickly pause the stream, change some settings, and we're back. Everybody seems to be saying that it's all good. Hi Project, hi Nick, hi Brent, hi MacBoy, Adams, Steve, everybody's here. Now, hopefully everybody from Steve's stream sticks around. If they don't, they don't. That's not the end of the world. I'm here. Hi, Clownhammer. And there's Kevin, who was asking all about the stream, so that's all good. Now, let me explain what's going on. This is not a sponsored stream. I want to make that very, very clear. Bigtreetech is not a sponsor of the stream. All they have done is given me the okay to do the stream. I am a beta tester for them and a bunch of other companies and software providers. And what that means is I get early access to lots and lots of gear that I occasionally accidentally leave in my streams, and people don't notice, thank goodness. It means that I've got long-term use access to lots of gear before it becomes available to you as a member of the public. And it means that what I'm doing when I'm able to do these sort of streams is give you long-term usage understanding of the devices, not an, oh my goodness, here's a device on Monday, 4 days to build your content, and release of the embargo is on the Saturday or the Sunday, which is usually how it's done. I've had the EBB boards in the Generation 2 for almost 12 months now. Buffering is back. What's going on? Okay, I'm going to keep going, and hopefully it gets better. I can't lower the frame rate without stopping the stream, so... yeah, like Greenbeard says, even if you're not going to stick around, please leave a like on my stream and please subscribe. That gets me back to the magical 1,000 subscribers, which will get me monetized, which will mean that the stream can hopefully start paying for a little bit of the content. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at the original beta test product that I was sent. And then I'm going to explain to you why it was rejected by some of us as the beta testers. And then we'll then move on and I'll show you the new product and then you can have a look at it. So repeating again, this is not sponsored. I was provided this for beta testing purposes, and Bigtreetech were kind enough to give me authority to then bring this to you guys today a little bit before the launch. I don't have an exact date for when they're going to be available in the shops. I don't have a price for you. That is all still in the hands of Bigtreetech. What my understanding is it's about a week away before they launch, and some of the delay is being caused by the current national holiday in China. So exactly when you'll see them in the stores, I don't know. All I know is that they've got their production run going, and hopefully it should be any tick of the clock next week. Everybody says that the stream is currently all going. Reloaded and it started working again. Okay, so let's just make sure I've got the right stuff here first. Okay, now most of you are going to have seen this piece of gear before. Actually, let's do it there. So, and my overhead camera has frozen. So I'm going to show it there. So many of you will have seen something a lot like that before. That's a lot like the board that is currently used for the USB version of the Stealth Burner boards. It's basically just an injector board. It provides power in and a connectivity for the USB to then be sent up to the device. And this one also has a CAN bus input header on it. And a fuse. So you're going to be reasonably familiar with this. This is just an injector board. It doesn't do anything other than provide that interface to get the data up to the toolhead board. Next up, we have the original. Now I want to stress this. This is the original prototype that I was sent. This prototype was hand-built. Well, I was actually sent two of them. One of them failed, unfortunately, very, very early in the testing. We don't know why. It probably came down to the fact that these prototypes, because they're not ready for production, aren't programmed into pick-and-place machines, so they're hand-assembled. And one of them, it just simply keeled over. It's just the nature of beta testing. I've been sent two because that sometimes happens, and as a result, I have another one of these that I've wrapped up in sticky tape that I'm holding on to for spare parts just in case I ever need it, but I know that that one is actually deceased. So let's just quickly go over it. Standard XT30 plus 2, XT32 plus 2 socket, which is what you're used to on many CAN bus boards these days, and standard GSTs and both PH and XH formats going to motors, etc. And screw down, because everybody was requesting screw down terminals for the hot ends. That's what was included on here. This board ran on my machine for about 4 months continuously. It was a workhorse. It was printing things left, right, and center. It was operating in a chamber temperature upwards of 70 degrees C all the time. It didn't even blink. It doesn't care. And that's been the ongoing experience of all of the beta testers. We were able to throw these boards into hot chambers and they just don't care about it. Next. One of the biggest things we had in terms of feedback. Oh, hi, Rare. I'm getting Voron royalty on my stream. That's amazing. One of the biggest things that we came up with in terms of beta testing, let's go back to me for a second. The overhead is still frozen. It's still showing Steve's stream, even though my phone's not even in view. One of the things was that people were worried that the boards were too fragile. People were worried that the average man in the street user who isn't used to dealing with electronics, which we are rarefied air, and a lot of people don't understand that. We are rarefied air. We are not the average user. People watching Steve's streams as a general rule, and people watching my stream especially, are towards the nerdier end of the spectrum in terms of their abilities and their usage patterns. Most men in the street users go out and buy a bamboo, and then they might then come across and then do something more DIY. And people were finding that the stealth burner boards and the traditional EBB 36 and 42 boards were very, very fragile. It was so easy to blow them up, it wasn't funny. Hi, Kegel. In fact, if I can find it in a moment, I'll bring up the picture of my EBB 36 that failed right out of the box. I literally pulled it out of the box, plugged it in, set it up ready to go, and the capacitor blew up. Not necessarily a fault of manufacturing in terms of Bigtreetech. It did seem to me that it was actually the component that just decided to curl up its toes. And the smoke was quite spectacular. In fact, it sizzled away for about 30 or 40 seconds. Speaking of which, that really means it's time for me to spruik my Discord, because there are photos on my Discord, and every so often the bot will actually spam my Discord link, so feel free to join. So what we did about that, we went back and we said to Bigtreetech, we need to harden these boards. We need to make them a lot more suitable for, sorry, I've rearranged my Stream Deck. We need to make them a lot tougher and a lot more resilient to average man in the street users, and we need to fix something. This is the new injector board. It's got 2 fuses. Why has it got 2 fuses? One is for high current loads to make sure that we don't overload the power through the board and up to the tool head. And the other is reverse voltage protection and USB protection. So if you were to accidentally do something silly, it had the ability to send 24 volts back into your USB line. So what we've done is feed that back, and Bigtreetech came up with a solution which involves having 2 fuses, one which protects the normal circuitry and one which then also protects the USB lines and the CAN bus lines to make sure that we don't end up in trouble. Now, let's just go back to the original prototype injector board. Where is it? You'll notice on this one, this is the original injector board. Had an XT32+2 socket, which was to feed up to the toolhead board. What that left us with was, 2 very big fat plugs, which was impossible to route reliably and safely. How are you going to feed that through a mile of wiring and a whole bunch of cable chains and whatever? It just wasn't practical. As much as it's an awesome connector, it wasn't practical to have it at both ends. So we've gone back to a more traditional Molex 2+2 socket, Microfit 3 2+2, which is a Molex brand. But we've also got the CAN bus in, USB in, and power pass-through, which was present on the previous version. Why power pass-through? It means that potentially you could then connect a whole bunch of these together using lots of power, so providing lots of power, and you could feed a daisy chain. So environments like the Stealth Changer, you could have a whole bunch of these boards all stacked up next to each other, one powering the next, powering the next, powering the next, powering the next, and then that means that you can then have them all in one place and all ready to feed up to your tool head. How big is that compared to the adapter on the Nighthawk 36? That I can't answer for you, unfortunately. I don't have one. As much as I'd love for Jason to be able to provide me with some of the hardware, we haven't ever had a chance to have a chat about that sort of stuff. So if you know Jason, send him my way and I'll gladly do a comparison for you guys, but I just don't have that relationship yet. It's the same connector? Okay. So, as part of that process, we fed back that the boards weren't electronically hard enough, and that the socket, as much as it's a great socket, it wasn't practical to have it at both ends, so we then moved on. Now, I am dragging this out for a bit, guys, basically because I want to make sure that I explain this clearly and that everything is reasonable and well represented. So we've gone over to the XT30 2+2 plus the Molex, and this is a very nice strain relieved plug, and it's a lot easier to get through restricted access. Is it ideal? No. Is it the perfect solution? No. Is it by far the best solution that suits our needs? Probably at this point. So this is the new cable. I think from memory it's 2.5 meters long. Now, it's been about 8 weeks since I put this away. So I'm 6 feet tall. It goes about another 1/2 meter above my head, so it's probably about 2.5 meters long. Hi, Reverend, how are you? I'm seeing so many names I see on streams that I don't normally get here, so that's pretty nice. Out of frame a bit, sorry. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just have to trust me on this, that the cable is about 2.5 meters long, giving you plenty of room to maneuver. Now, what that means is, for some people, that might be way too long. It's not the end of the world. I believe LDO took off some of the molding on the XT30+2 to solve some similar issues. Yeah. So where was I going? Not the end of the world if the cable is miles too long. It is possible to cut into them, cut them in half, and then use Wago joiners or similar, or even the electrical screw down connectors, just the pass-through kind, to join them in the middle, having cut out a section appropriate to what you need. Those Molex connectors don't fit through the PG7 glands, do they? No, they don't. However, Esoterical is somebody I get to chat to a lot. He's on a lot of beta tests that I'm also on. He has a gland which is 3D printable, which I believe is on his GitHub. That's in 2 halves, and then you can put that around it, and it's basically the same dimensions as a PG7. It's just not a PG7. If they are depinned, they will fix it. You can't depin this kind. This kind is all molded on Rogue. So let me just go back to that camera. So that strain relief is all molded together. That is not coming off. It's the compromise that had to be made to make sure it's robust enough. So what you can do, like I said, is you can cut the cable in half, and then you can splice those wires together, either solder them and join them properly, or you can use those screw down kind of connectors. Why do they even put a microfit on the end unless you're connecting it to a U2C? So the injector board, Brent, the injector board has that socket. So this cable is also hardened in terms of it has, I wouldn't recommend depinning these. I definitely wouldn't. So, but that's your call to make. That's, if you buy these toys, that's your modification you can choose to make if you want to. What I'm trying to get to is you can cut the cables in half, which then makes the world your oyster, and then you can rejoin them using an appropriate cable joining technique. So, let's get the beast out of the box. This is the Gen 2 EBB 42. As you can see, the electronics on this thing is dense. Now, I'm going to switch over to the side cam because it's a little easier for me to hold in frame. Actually, that reminded me of something. Where's the original board? One of the reasons we rejected these boards, this is the original. I'm leaving the cable on because it helps me make sure I don't get them confused. It only had the boot button for programming putting the chip into DFU mode on the back. which means if you were to screw your toolhead board to your random toolhead, you had no access to it, which made life kind of interesting. So after much complaining and annoying of the Bigtreetech guys, we persuaded them that the buttons needed to go on the accessible side. So yes, this is the beast. Let's go over a few things. So we've got boot and DFU buttons. I forget which way around it is. It is marked on the board very clearly, and it's very clearly marked in the manual that will be coming out with these. Now, I do have the beta manual, but I can't show it to you for a couple of reasons. Number one, it sucks and there's lots of mistakes in it. And number two, it's not really relevant to this board directly. It's more for the older board. So it's not going to be as pertinent. So the new manual is being completed as I speak, I'm told. So that will be out very shortly. Now, one of the things I've gotten into a habit of doing, and I recommend that people think about doing this for themselves, any port that I'm not using, I put a plug into, a blank plug. What that means is you're a lot less likely to accidentally short against pins that are much more freely available if you don't put something in there. And it also means that if you're not using that particular socket and you're trying to get to the one next to it, it means you're a lot less likely to plug something into the wrong slot, which does make a difference on these boards. These two ports here have two very different purposes. One of them is a data port for I2C, and the other one is the CAN bus/USB pass-through. If you were to plug one into the other, you'll end up doing mischief to your electronics. So doing this sort of simple step of putting a blank plug in is a really good way to save yourself from some mischief. Just having a quick look at chat because there's lots going on. Let go my Wago. Who thought this was a good user experience? That's clever. Okay, well, at least somebody likes the idea. Now, let's go over a few things. New features that everybody has been asking for. Does it have a 4-pin fan header? No. What it does have is it has a 3-pin fan header, which is a tachometer port. It allows you to then read the speed of the fan if your fan supports that, which means that you can then at least know if your heat break fan is working and go from there. Now, the other thing that it's got voltage selectable ports by port. So if you were to have a 12-volt fan and a 5-volt fan, that's fine on these boards. Not all of the original EBB and rival brand boards had the ability to select voltage on a port-by-port basis. This board you can. The other thing to note is that, and a lot of people didn't realize this, and this was something that was a little confusing for me, that people didn't realize this. When you have a pancake stepper, the pancake stepper at 45 degrees, at 45 degrees, that is the same distance apart as the standard NEMA 17 diagonal opposed screws. So this is compatible with both. 24-volt fans are supported cable. That's what I was saying. Native voltage on these boards is 24 volts, and it does have the ability to jumper them to down to 5 volts. So what this means is you can indeed use the EBB 42 board on a pancake stepper without any dramas whatsoever. Now, this is the EBB 36 that I had Magic Smoke come out of the other day. And let's just compare them size for size. This is a really wide boy. Let's do it that way. Sorry, trying to do this so you guys can see it. It's a really wide boy. There's about 3/4 of an inch difference in width between the two. Maybe a little bit over 1/2 inch. But yeah, it's significantly wider. what this is going to mean is that if you do opt for the EBB 42 version, because there is a 36 version, just to make that clear, you're going to have a little bit more room for other things going on behind the... Steve Build sent me over to watch your stream. Hi, Guy. So the EBB 42, most definitely compatible with pancake stepper mounting. A lot of people were confused by that when I mentioned it before to some of the beta testers even, that, yeah, it is compatible. So if you order the 42 versus the 36, in terms of what they offer you, it's only the size difference and the shape difference. They will give you exactly the same features. As far as I understand, it's exactly the same pin outs, exactly the same pin definitions. You could literally swap in a 36 versus a 42, and as long as you either change the USB ID or the CAN bus ID, because they are dual mode, then you can go from there, and yeah, it should be a direct swap, as I understand it. I haven't actually had my hands on a 36 in the new version because the limited production run of the beta boards meant that I could only get one this time, and they sent me a 42 because that's what I got last time. So, things to note about this board. The XT32+2 socket is a little bit displaced over to one side. So it is going to mean that if you've already been using a 42 board, you might need to print a new bracket to support it. This is something I knocked together in Fusion. Brad would be proud of me. He's a regular who always says to me that I need to learn more Fusion. So I did my best and I did some Fusion work. Now, there is 2 extra holes in this particular support. I'm running a APUS2 extruder, which doesn't mount the motor at 45 degrees like most setups. It mounts it at 40 degrees. So that would mean that my board would be sitting at an angle and it wouldn't work. So when we get to mounting this, if we get to do that on this stream, it wouldn't have actually sat upright. So I've modified this particular mount, and I am going to make this mount available on printables and make a world for anybody who wants it. EBB 42, it's hip to be square, or squarish, because it's not actually square, it's taller than it is wide, but yeah, hip to be squarish. Now, has anybody got any questions so far? I know I'm doing lots of talking, and I've been talking now for 20 odd minutes, so I'm going to take a quick drink and just look to see if there's any questions. And here comes my spam, that was good timing. Ooh, I have an APUS2 that I've been meaning to use. Oh, nice, Petty. I won mine when Modbot did his factory tour at Phaetus, and then it just sat in a box for a long, long time. So I decided to dig it out and install it onto my Ender 5, which is sitting over next to me just here. Now, I am going to give one last try at getting this overhead camera to work, if you guys can please bear with me. Okay, that looks like it's working, but only if I do it in a special mode. Let me flip that the right way up. Okay, so now my hands match. Okay. One of the downsides about having so many USB cameras, because HDMI cameras don't work for what I'm trying to do, is that sometimes the USB craps out and you end up with only 2 working. One question, when am I getting my boards? Projects has been on at me for a while to try and get him in on some beta testing, and as soon as they do some recruiting, I will certainly drop his name and they can then choose to pick him or not, but I have no control over that project any more than you do, so I'll do what I can for you when I can, my man. So let me just see if I can find that picture of the burned down EBB 36, just for giggles. And then I can't do any better than this, I'm sorry guys, because as you can see, it was smoking. and somebody's put that into their AI bot for me, and it spat out the little border and a whole bunch of comments. So like I said, I don't believe it was any direct fault of Bigtreetech. I think it was the actual component itself, just bad from the original factory. So yeah, let's go. Let's make a move on, shall we? So bearing in mind the overhead camera is sort of jank at the moment. Let's see what's going on if I do this. Not that one, that one. So I've still got side cam. That gets me 2 of my hand, but it's better than nothing. Actually, that's the overhead cam frozen again. So let's okay, so I'm in there. Top down is still not working on that one. Side cam is going to be what we're using for a while. So let's first of all get rid of all of the beta prototype gear, because I don't want to get it confused and mixed up and then make life harder for me and everybody else. What we're going to be doing today is carrying on now. So if I lose a whole bunch of people at this point, well, so be it. Hopefully you learned a little bit about some of the new boards, and you're a little bit excited like I am. I am honestly excited. It's not me being a shill for Bigtreetech or anything like that. These boards have kind of answered a lot of the problems that we've been dealing with as a community, with the ability to have either USB or CAN bus. So let's see if I can go back here. Just me. And now I'm upside down, of course. Will it let me swap back? It won't let me swap back. This is normal Australia mode. Escape. It won't let me swap that back now either. So this is going to be one of those jank screens. You're always upside down. Thanks, Kegel. This is reality. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be swapping out the Toolhead board carrier that I built for the SHC36, not the SHC36, the EBB36, and I'm going to be swapping it in the EBB Gen2. Look straight to me. Jex is an East Coast Australian, so I'm sure he quite relished the ability to operate in his normal way up. It's been so hard watching the stream upside down all these months. Literally down under maker. Now, for my first ever stream, I did actually set up a view which had everything upside down, and I actually started streaming for the first 30 seconds, just as purely as a gag, with everything entirely upside down. It sort of worked. It didn't quite have the impact that I was hoping for, but it was okay. So one of my big pet hates with the mounts that people do for the toolhead boards is a lot of them put the heat sets in from the front. So I've designed these hopefully to go in from the back. Like I said, this is one of my first attempts at doing this all in Fusion. I'm a Tinkercad person, honestly. I know it's a bit jank to be using Tinkercad, but I teach in Tinkercad. I'm a science and engineering teacher. So Tinkercad is what's suitable for a lot of my students, and as a result, I've got very proficient in that. But I am starting to teach some of the higher classes, which means that I need to get my act together and get better at Fusion. So I'm doing what I can. Now, because of the way this board is done, the heat set wasn't going in very square the first time. And again, I apologize for the fact that that camera's let me down. But I'm doing what I can to keep the stream going and not be put off by it. Deep down inside, it's hurting me deeply that it screwed up on such a good opportunity. When Steve mentioned to me that he was going to be in a slot where he was going to be able to raid into me, I was like, woohoo! I might be able to pick up a few viewers. And then last week, for those of you who don't know, Mrs. Maker just recently fell and hurt herself quite badly. She shattered her ankle. So what that meant was last week was just not going to happen. And then the karma hit me. That's when I decided to do a little bit of work off stream, because I just needed a few minutes to just check everything out. And let's see if it will. I'm the right way up on this view. Let's see if I can adjust this. And then if I go like that, okay, that might be a workable view for now while we do our thing. So yeah, Mrs. Maker fell and broke her ankle quite badly. She shattered it. She's ended up in surgery with pins and screws and plates and all sorts of other cool stuff going on. She's like that, for those of you who are old enough to remember, she's like Steve Austin, was it $6 Million Man? Not the wrestler, the TV show from the very late 70s, early 80s. Now, I don't think I got my tolerances on these holes quite right, because there's a little bit of plastic in each of these holes. So I'm just clearing the plastic out using a nice long M3 screw. We have the technology, that's the one. $1 Million Woman. She's one in a million. She has to be to put up with me. Do you have a BTT affiliate link? No, I don't. As far as I'm aware, they don't directly do that. What I do need to get my act together and do is set up a AliExpress affiliate link, because that way you could then click on that link and then pick up the stuff from AliExpress. I do have a Polymaker affiliate link, which is in the channel description. So if you are thinking about buying any Polymaker, you can use my affiliate link and go from there. And the other thing I've got, seeing as people are asking, it's just recently spammed it. I do have fourth wall for merch. Anybody who was at 3D Printopia would have probably seen Keela from Lemery 3D running around in one of my hoodies. So while I've been chatting, I've got all those heat sets in, and that's all there. Now, I did this for M36s or M38s. The hole should be deep enough for both. 1, 2, and sorry, just off screen. How can I adjust this? Let's go to that camera and, no, wrong way, that way. And just go down a little bit and turn that off for a moment. Things might go a little dark. Oh, it's evened it out, that's better. Night Klein hammer. And I need my The most annoying part about all of this is I had just finished setting all this up on a previous stream, and then I'd gone and got myself some cable sleeving. And where did I put the clippers? There. This was all ready to start programming this week, and it all went to poop. What's Petty going on about? Inappropriately. I can't see, I don't understand what's going on, but that's not unusual. So let's see if I can bring this into view a little better, and not that one, not that one. Let's see if it'll let me swap it upside down now. It's just not giving me the option to flip it back upside down. So let's go back to that one. Sorry, I'm not normally this jank, people. And let's go there. It's kind of close. And normally I do have my chat up on the screen as well, but that's been lost with all these changes, unfortunately. Actually, maybe if I do that. No, chat is just broken today. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting ready to mount the board holder onto the back of the APUS2. Now with the APUS2, it sits really, really high. So one of the things I did was I intentionally set it up in such a way that it lowers the board down against the back of the... Did I not get that angle quite right? It's better than it would be, but I've not got that angle accurate. So there's a redesign I'm going to have to do this week just to fix that. It's close. I wonder, I might be able to put an arc in here to allow for a little bit of adjustment. So for those of you who can't quite see what's going on, the board is sitting at about a 5-degree angle. Sorry, the board holder is sitting at a 5-degree angle. It's not going to interfere with what we're doing, so I'm going to carry on. It's just not ideal, and I'll have to adjust that design a little bit. Now, as I was saying a moment ago, Mrs. Maker hurt herself quite badly, so she's currently looking after the kids because it's school holidays and babysitter's unwell. So if there is a situation where she needs me, I'll just have to pause you guys for a moment and head out there just to help her. She's just in the next room. Although one thing I should point out, and my regulars will know, the stream I had with my 2-year-old on it had more views and more likes than any of my other streams. So maybe that tells me something about my content, or at least my presentation. So that's the toolhead board in place. Now, we are going to need to make some changes inside the printer too, so bear with me a second while I turn this around. For anybody who's interested, this is the Wideboy IKEA, I think it's Alex, IKEA Alex Wideboy drawers. They're on casters, and as a result, it means they're nice and wheelie. What I've then done is built some risers onto the top, which then mean that the level of the cabinet behind me is the same level as this. So it means if I've got to move a big printer around, I can just move it onto here and wheel it around much more easily. So what I was planning on using was the U2C board from Bigtreetech to do my CAN bus. but that is all going away, and I'm actually going to run this toolhead board in USB. So I'm just going to take all this. Actually, that's probably not something I need to do on stream. I'll put that back. Do I have my electrical screwdriver here? No, I don't. One moment. Now, let's see if I can show you guys what's going on inside here. Sorry if I make anybody seasick, it's not my intention. So, this is the electronics bay of the Ender 5 that I've been doing all this work on. I've actually flipped the power box upside down, so normally the removable part is on the bottom. I flipped it upside down and moved it to a spot which gives a better center of gravity for the printer itself. Hopefully what that will mean is I get better resonance characteristics out of it. And we've installed a 5-volt power supply, which is running the Raspberry Pi as a separate entity. And just over here, we have a pair of relays. So what this is all wired up to do is the Raspberry Pi will have the ability to turn this relay on and off, because this is the original LRS 35024 that doesn't automatically turn the fan off. So it runs 24/7. So having just the silent mode 5-volt supply means I can shut down this power supply whenever the printer's not in use, but it's still available over the web and I can turn it on and off at my whim. That's what's going on inside here. And I'm just about to unscrew the 24-volt power that was coming from the LRS into the U2C, and I'm going to replace that with the injector board. And I just dropped you guys on your heads. I apologize. I'm going to do this off view purely and simply because the cable doesn't reach. Sorry about that. You guys didn't want to hear me cough anyway. So let's turn this camera around a little bit and see if I can point it down into the printer a bit better. And let's do the same with that one. Let's point that. There we go. So sorry about that. That was the OBSBot camera software just for steering the camera. That's what I was doing. Now, I'm going to point something out now on these boards. The injector board does have a V in and a V out on it. It doesn't actually matter. These two are just in parallel, so the traces through the board just go straight from one to the other. It doesn't make any difference. For the purposes of what we're doing here, though, I will do it the right way, and I will connect it to the input side of the connection. Double checking that I did all this properly. Positive. Negative has the black stripe. So on the back of the board, there's screen printing, which will tell you positive and negative, and V in versus V out. So ground and positive go into there. And tighten them down. Now, in preparation for the stream, just to make it really clear, I did dismantle all of this like weeks ago and put it in a box because I didn't want to accidentally leak any of this before Bigtreetech authorized me to show you guys. So this has all been sitting in a box for a couple of weeks. That's why it's not installed on a machine already and I'm not showing you live, because it just wasn't in the right spot for me. Now, the other thing that I realized just before the stream started, the original plate I used for mounting the original injector board is ever so slightly different hole spacing to the new one. So I very quickly printed myself out a thrown together plate to mount this to, that I can then VHB tape into the bottom of the printer temporarily while I come up with something better. So I'm just going to unscrew that, now having screwed it in, and mount the plate M36. For anybody who's wondering, the orange thing over there is a trestle bridge for my kids' toy trains. They've got these little wooden trains and they smashed it. So I've just finished reprinting the trestle plastic parts for them. And this just holds a bunch of AA cells. Now, I did do this the jank way. This is just simply screwing the threads into plastic, if I can find the right. No, I can't. I put an Allen driver down in the kitchen earlier, and I just realized it's the one I needed for this. Now, I've actually got 4 mounting holes in this. I'm only going to use 2 for now, because this is all going to get torn out off stream while I come up with a better solution. But I want to be able to be in a situation where we can try and get this done. Repairs or needed things are my favorite type of print. Just repaired my spouse's Kobo. I have no idea what a Kobo is after the button fell out of it. So where's my razor blade? There's my razor blade. I assume people know that trick, that if you have VHB tape, rather than trying to peel up the corners, do a quick slice down the middle of it, and it peels apart so much more easily. So the USB socket is there. I have plenty of reach, so it doesn't really matter. Plenty of reach on the 24-volt power. Okay. I pulled that off a bit too soon. I should have waited. Ground and positive. Tighten those back down. So just carefully run that wiring, and somewhere there we'll be fine. And now I can plug in the USB. So that USB plug that I've just talking about just runs through to the Raspberry Pi that was already put into place, ready for the U2C. Now, my proposal for you guys is to, now, something to make clear. This injector board is not a U2C. Hi, Maker Viking, welcome. It's not a U2C. Oh, and hi, Beardy, I haven't said hi to you yet. It's not a U2C in its own right. It can be a USB input, or it can receive the CAN bus data from either your main board or a U2C. It doesn't have a USB to CAN bus bridge in it. So just making that really, really clear. It's not a U2C in its own right. So that's all in place. That's all in place. Let's turn this whole thing around. And we need the cable. We're going good, Maker Viking. Do you know what's going on the stream? I've had a camera let me down, so that's been fun. And we're currently setting up and hopefully going to do a test flight with the EBB 42 Gen 2. Helps if I turn that plug the right way around. Now, one of the things I am going to be doing is I've got a hole already designed into the top of the toolhead carrier for a piece of piano wire. So, actually, I'm not going to put it there. I'm going to put it this side. I may as well go with the slight tilt for now, and then we can work with it. Where's the piano wire? There it is. So this is just some, from the hobby shop, 0.81 millimeter piano wire. Comes in packs of 3 or 4 or something like that. Cost me like $4 US. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this to support the umbilical and the PTFE. And I'm probably going to be retrofitting it onto most of my machines because I'm finding that it's just irritating. Oh, that worked. That's a nice tolerance. So let's, will it let me do this? No. So something just like this, so that the umbilical is supported and nothing's going to sag into the print area. So that's there and there. All right, let's take that out for now because it's not necessary for what we're doing, but it gives you an idea of where I'm headed with this. So what did I miss doing? I missed connecting the header for the heater to something that I can actually plug into, and I forgot to add the thermistor. Now, like I said, I can't show you guys the instruction manual because it's simply not usable. No, I can't use that. Let's go there. I just need to confirm for myself which pins. Oh, definitely can't show you this. I've just opened my docs.google.com and realized it's absolutely loaded with other beta stuff that I can't show you. So let's close that and not worry about it for now, and I'll make a guesstimate in a moment. So I'm going to need 1 tie strap just to hold that all securely. And did I put those away? I tidied up for the stream and I put lots of stuff away. And now I need it, which of course is always the way. Giant bag of many, many kinds of tie straps, or zip ties. Now these aren't the zip ties I want to carry forward with. I've got some blue ones on order, so I'm just going to put one in for now just to take the strain relief. Now, if anybody's wondering about these panels are based on the, there's an Aussie guy, I forget his name. Remember how I said I was doing my best not to confuse the two types of cabling and gear? I've just accidentally used the original prototype cable instead of the new version that has the Molex microfit on it. Throw it well off stream, get rid of it. There's no way the XT plug will have ever fit through there. Don't worry, I'm not throwing everything on the floor. There's a big bin in the corner of the room, just off camera. Where are we at? We're at 70 minutes. Now, I do have a hard end time for this stream. I can't go past 12 lunchtime my time because Mrs. Maker's got a work teleconference that she has to do. Unfortunately, she's got a job where this sort of injury, if she can work, she really needs to just to keep up. So that's all in place. Turn this all around again. And that's not the one I need. That's the one I need. So the tool headboard output is on the facing the front edge of the machine, and that's now plugged in. Let's double check everything. Let's unplug the heatset press that I've managed to, by pure fluke, not burn myself on. Let's get rid of it. So now spring seal has become the standard. I just did it because it made sense to me, Brent. Whether I'm going to do it on the Voron, I haven't decided yet. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the plastic panels. The other Aussie teacher guy who streams, I forget, well, he doesn't stream, he does produce videos. He likes the Grand Prix racing. I'm sure you all know who I mean. He did a set of files for cutting the acrylic, so that's what I used, just to give him credit for the fact that they're his files. And here's the power cord that I've been looking for. Now, I hope everybody's ready to clip it. Let's make sure that power is off. Let's set the cameras up so that they can see, just in case we do get any wisps of smoke of any kind. Spring steel, probably not something you can order off AliExpress, no. There's a model train shop not far from where I am. So I just dropped in there on a whim, and that happened to be there. And I'm like, score, that's going to work for what I need. Okay, so am I going to go to all the hassle of putting all this wiring on before we program it? Probably not. So let's power it all on and see what happens, just to make sure everything has best possible chance of success. There's the switch. 5 volts on, 24 volts is on. SKR is on. Raspberry Pi is booting up. So On the toolhead side, it's the XT32+2 like we're used to with most of the Bigtreetech gear. And on the injector board side, it's the Molex Microfit 3 on the injector board. So up here is the XT30. Down in the gubbins of the printer, it's the Microfit 3. Quite possibly, Brent. That would make sense. And let's see if this is all working. I don't remember what the IP address is. Sorry, what I'm doing is I'm just jumping onto my Unify portal and checking what the IP address of this is. Did I call it that? Maybe that 189. And we're in. Okay, let's switch over to here and you guys can see what's going on. Now, just a reminder that the bottom right camera is dead. I'm not going to play with it on this particular occasion. Let's make that a little smaller. So we are live. We don't seem to have any problems with that. Let's now load putty. There we go. 192.168.1.189. And you guys can also come along for the ride with this, I hope. Yes, you can. So, hi, Beta Jake. You missed everything, man. So we are in. Let's go LS USB. And we have the RP2040. We have everything there. And we have, okay. Can you see, guys, on the screen that we have the USB 2.0 hub? That is the hub chip on the toolhead board, which then allows the USB connectivity. So that's all fine. So what we're going to do now is hopefully put that board into DFU mode. Nope. Why isn't it going into DFU mode? Is it just going to be painful? There's no lights on the board. Now, I want to, again, make sure that everybody realizes that if this board has failed while it's been in the box, that is probably coming down to the fact that it's a prototype. And these prototypes are hand-built, and it's not a reflection of what the production devices will be. I've got the blue light here. So I'm getting power to the injector board, but I'm not getting any lights on the toolhead board itself. So best way to resolve this, I think, is going to be to remove the toolhead board onto the bench where we can see a bit better. So I'm just shutting down the printer for a second and going to that view, and I'm going to take it off. And I'm not sure if you guys can hear my dogs going absolutely mental in the background, but that is the latest AliExpress delivery just being chucked over my fence. So Nick, that's all those screws that you reminded me to order, and somebody else, I forget who it was, sent me the reminder too, so thank you guys. So as a reminder with this particular board, if you were using a Bondtech extruder, you could just screw straight through the board and through the mounting plate straight into the standoffs on the motor. That screw's gone. Let's cut that tie, wasting a third one. Now, just for safekeeping, I am going to mount this onto the plastic plate. Let's move this camera around so you guys can see me. I know you probably don't want to, but suck it up. And here was me hoping to have a nice slick stream to show you guys. But that never happens. That's not the right camera. That's the right camera. Done working on Tinker Atlas for the day. I guess it's time for bed. Have a great one, Maker Viking. And for those who haven't joined Tinker Atlas, please definitely do. Maker Viking's got a project to help makers like us get together with similar-minded people that are local to them. So check it out. If anybody's got the link that they can post into chat for me, please. Greenbeard or Nick or Jake. So let's do the logical things. Let's make sure that we're getting 24 volts to the board. Sorry for guys, I'm just grabbing my multimeter. Well, what I'm doing, Void, is I'm planning on just testing to see if I'm getting 24 volts. Because if I'm getting 24 volts, then that means that I'm definitely getting power continuity. So, see if I can set this up in a way where you can sort of see it. There we go. that's right, we powered it off. So that's probably not going to give us anything right now. Let's power it back on. I'm getting no voltage at the end of this cable. Which is actually probably the best possible outcome at this point. So next up, which I'm not going to show you guys directly because it's too awkward to get into and change all the cameras around. But I'm just going to test the 24 volts to the injector board. Okay, so I'm getting 28 volts there. But I'm getting no volts to the V out, which makes me think I've got a blown fuse. So let's shut that down. Let's grab that Allen key. This is where my previous lives and background kick in, because this sort of fault finding is stuff that I'm really used to doing professionally. Screwdriver, I'm just going to disconnect this from the 24 volt power because we don't need it for now. And OmniFixo. One way up, that way up, that way up. Now I don't actually need the OmniFixo for what I'm doing. I'm just doing it so that hopefully the board's in a bit more of a convenient orientation so you can see what's going on. There. So continuity mode. And put it into, yeah, you guys can hear the beeps. I used to do this professionally, aka the kids I teach keep breaking the electronics. Before I became a teacher, I did lots of server-based work. And and there we have it. It's a fuse has popped. Don't know how, it's been in storage, but that's actually a relatively simple fix because I have a whole ribbon of those things sitting somewhere here. Was there any in the box? Now, the Bigtreetech pack does come with a couple of spare fuses, so that is something worthy of note, that they are covering you. I'm just going to yoink the fuse out of the original beta injector board. Focus. These fuses, they're not insurmountably tiny. Now let's just remind myself which one was it. I'm pretty sure it was the top one. So beep, no beep. Pull that out, it's going straight in the bin so I don't get them confused. Now, these fuses do have a number on them. it's just good practice to put the number facing outwards, just in case you ever have to read it in the future. Now, before we go messing around, let's double check it for continuity. In fact, I'm starting to remember that the last test I did on this board was the USB protection. So maybe I forgot to replace the fuse after I did that test. There. These probes I've got are very, very sharp, so I have to be diligent about putting the caps back on, otherwise I will end up stabbed. So that is all currently switched off. That is in. Aren't you glad you joined me for this jank stream? You could be sleeping right now. Screwdriver. Now, one good thing about these giant terminals on the injector board is you can use standard electrical screwdrivers on them. Don't have to go and hunt out some tiny little screwdriver to make it work. I do think, though, that we are rapidly running out of time in terms of getting it programmed. So what we'll probably end up doing this is getting it into DFU mode and flashing it for USB. And then we'll probably call the stream. And we'll continue on next week with the rest of the work. Which means I'm going to leave you on bated breath and a cliffhanger, so you'll all join me next week, hopefully. Plugging the USB in. So we have 24-volt power, we have the umbilical connector, and we have a USB, so power on. We have we have more lights on the injector board, which is promising. And we have the base connection chip lighting up, so that's all fine. Shutting it down, waiting for that to all de-energize. Okay. When Dave needs to sleep, he starts working on his printer. I'm not sure who Dave is, so I know lots of people's screen names, but a lot of the personal names I kind of get lost on. Oh, Teaching Tech is the guy I'm thinking of, the other Aussie content creator. So where are we at? That's all set up. Let's power that on. And we have a blue light on the board now. Yes! Good thing that cable is 2.5 meters. Yes, it is. 3D&T. Oh, that Dave. That makes sense. Laser focus leads to sleepiness. Now, if you'd said it was Dave who Phil always heckles, I would have known. I can't believe he piped out on the Prince Albert, though. So that all appears to be working. I'm just going to log back into SSH. That's weird. That's better. For some reason, the SSH session hadn't bombed out. And that's in. So let's swap to that. Okay, so let's do LSUSB. And that's all looking like it's supposed to. I just can't remember which way around is the DFU trigger. It's not showing up. Why isn't it showing up? Let's try something. Let's go to here. Now, for those people who aren't familiar with the way things have changed in Mainsail and Fluid, there's now a devices button at the top of the screen. And you can actually get it to spit out all of the devices that are currently connected. That's not there. So bear with me a few moments. I'm just going to have a quick look at what's going on. Closer on the board. I think I know what it is. Yep. It was all set up for CAN bus. I've just removed one of the jumpers, which is what forces it into CAN bus mode. So my spam bot is spamming, but it's spamming everything all at once. So I need to adjust that somehow. So I'm just waiting for the pie to come back up. Okay, we're in. And let's swap you over to that one so you can see. Okay. Now, just quickly showing you, we are now in DFU mode and everything is now ready to go. So we need to go CD catapult. And we need to go make clean to clean the buffer. We need to go make menu config. No spaces, Phil. And we're in. Now go over to this and to USB. So this is literally all the information that I've been given in terms of programming the board, and I've had to work on the rest of it for myself. We need to make sure that the USB is on PA 11 and 12. and clock reference is 8 megahertz. So let's go back to PuTTY. So it's a 0B1, yep, we got that right. Communication is on USB on PA 11 and 12, which you don't have a choice, which is making life simpler. 8 megahertz crystal is already set. USB IDs we don't play with. Support rapid entry, yes. Enable bootloader entry on button or GPIO state, yes. Actually, let's not do that for now. It is there and it does work, but let's not do that for now. So that's there. We're going to go Q to quit, yes to save, and we're going to go make -J2. Now, for those who don't know what J2 does, that allows it to use more processor time to compile faster. You can do J4 if you've got a 4-core board, but I'm pretty sure this is a Pi 3, so I'm not pushing it. So that's all done. And now we need to do that make flash thing. Let's go to esoterical's site for that, because I can never remember. usb.esoterical.com. That's the CAN bus version. That's what we need anyway. Sorry, I'm just jumping onto esoterical's page. The command is the same regardless, so. Control C, and then we go back to PuTTY, and we go paste. And we hit enter. And we're in. In Oz, shouldn't it be dropped? Bear with me. Okay. Very nice. Hold boot, press and reset. Exactly right, Kegel. But the hand-built boards that I've got, you can't see which one is which. So we've got Catapult. Now we need to definitely go to usb.esoterical.com. And I have shared images of this board to Esoterical because he signed into the NDAs of this board, so that he's going to have that. So hardware configurations. Just have to find a board that's the same. Is that one the same? No, that's an RP2040 board. Actually, we know what we need to do. It's all on that other picture, so that's fine. So let's go. CD/clipper. There is a folder called Clipper. I spelled it Kilper. That probably doesn't help. Make clean make menu config, all one word this time, and we're in. So let's double check it against the picture. 8 kilohertz, no bootloader. Okay, so I do have to have that, that's fine. Optimize the step on both edges. And we don't need to set any GPIO pins. So let's go Q. Let's go make space -J2. It sounds like my kids are starting to become a handful for Mrs. Maker, so I might need to cut this short very shortly. But what this should at least do is get us to the point where we've got a USB ID, which we can then put into Clipper and have the toolboard talking. Okay, so we're there. So let's go to LS USB. And now we're in DFU mode, so that's all good. And we need to get that flashing command from SO site. That's the catapult flash. Catapult flash. Clipper with catapult. So we do need a serial by ID. I keep clicking on the OBS version of the PuTTY screen. There's our ID. Wait a minute. Is that, or is that the PiPico? That's the Clipper one. That's better. I have a different ID there. Catapult ID. That's what we needed. So that's an important thing that I didn't realize and I hadn't encountered. You can, if the board is in DFU mode, it won't show up in LSU, the device by ID. So worth knowing. Stop Clipper. Probably don't need to because this isn't actually, well, in fact, we definitely don't need to. So let's copy that. I'm just copying the command from Esoterical's page and back into PuTTY for me and catapult. We need to go the underscore STM part. And hit enter, and I know this is going to bomb out because, oh no, it's not. We're not in DFU mode, so it's going to bomb out. It cannot connect to bootloader. Oh, I did connect to bootloader. And it says it's done. Okay. Mainsail. Refresh. Let's go into mainsail config, devices, USB, refresh. And there we have it. we have our toolhead board, STM32. So what we can then do is we can then just use those details that we've just got to put into our config, and we're ready to go. So with that, let's go back to looking at me. That camera there, and whiz it across. Oh, wrong way. Sorry guys, I know this is jank, it's just because that other camera's let me down. And I'm back in frame. So, where we've got up to is we've shown off the board, we've got it flashed finally after finding that faulty fuse, and we are ready to go. We've flashed Catapult, we've flashed Clipper, we've installed the hardware. Next week it's going to be on to programming and getting this Ender 5 finally back to running again. With that, I thank you for joining me. I apologize for the jankiness of the camera and a few other bits and pieces that have gone on today. Hopefully you'll join me next week. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And it's time for me to hop on out of here. Bye, guys.